Hey everyone, welcome to the channel, Bread and Butter Football here. Now I am Ash, one of the co-founders. If you are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button and hit that bell button because there's going to be a lot of content coming. We are going to reform basically. We're going to be doing a football community network based on Telegram. If you have no idea what Telegram is, it's basically like WhatsApp but a bit more secure. You can download it here if you're using a desktop, but you can get it on your smartphone as well. Very, very encrypted and secure. It doesn't use your mobile number for public use. It's all based on usernames, and it is a chat forum or announcement channel. We're going to build loads of them and allow you guys, content creators and obviously football fans and people who like to attend football games, to discuss and talk with your own fans and rival fans about the games that we all love. But this video is more about getting things back on a rhythm and putting content out there. We're going to be doing a podcast over the next few weeks and that'll run throughout, but we're going to also do nice videos from time to time talking about stuff and get a bit of football content out there to you guys and hopefully see what happens in the future. But this one is about Liverpool. I want to talk about Liverpool's outgoings over the last 3 years since Micheal Edwards became technical director. It's actually phenomenal, and it's kind of gone under the radar from other clubs, apart from recently. Even yesterday, Danny Ings went for 20 million. Crazy numbers. So let's look at this. Now, this is Micheal Edwards. He's been around at the club as the head tactical kind of buffing of the analytics since 2011. But actually, in November 2016, which is where we're going to look from, he has been appointed the technical sporting director, essentially. The guy who does the transfers, the wheeling and dealing, and actually has a team together that creates and, you know, gets all the data for players. They have some incredible people on their data kind of team. Scientists who look at how atoms work and how they can predict player movement and patterns off the ball. I know, crazy. But let's talk about it. So let's go back in time. We're going to go back to 16-17 season. I want to go beyond that because there's no point, because he wasn't really in that role. This was a season where it was Jurgen Klopp's first season, but this was kind of like, you know, when you started to see what was happening with around the club, things were starting to improve. So this was kind of before he was in a position, but some big wheeling and dealing. He would have been a part of the moves for the likes of Sadio Mane, Wijnaldum, etc. But you know, this wasn't the greatest transfer window in the world. Sadio Mane and Wijnaldum, brilliant, obviously. But obviously the likes of Loris Karius didn't quite work out for him. Klavan was a good backup, but, you know, ultimately cheap buys at the end of it. And most importantly, nothing really overvalued. For Liverpool, we've always been known as a club that spends big and didn't really do much with it. If you go back in time, you spent a lot there on pretty much rubbish. Christian Benteke, for example. Very, very expensive. You also look here during Brendan Rodgers' reign, Lovren, Lallana, you know, crazy amount of money on pretty much players that weren't going to give you a long-lasting value. Obviously, a few have, like Divock Origi is a very good example, but other than that, nothing. If you're going to be totally honest, and if you go back even further, yeah. But now you look, and it's totally different. It's a much better feel. So, the likes of Benteke leaving, yes, we made a loss. But the likes of Jordan Ibe selling for 16 million at the time was a bit part player. Joe Allen, again, bit part player, 14 million. Martin Skrtel, getting old, we've had a couple of years out, quite a lot of years out of him in reality, 5.4 million. And players going out that never really kicked a ball for us for a couple of million. That was the sign of things to come with the new reign, with the going out period. But this is where it started to ramp up. Look at this for an example in terms of change of fortune, okay? So obviously you got the likes of Philippe Coutinho going out for 130 million. That's crazy money. Sacco, who wasn't playing a game, who's out on loan. Previous year we got over 2 million fee for Sacco. 25.3 million. Wow. Profit. Crazy. Divock Origi, nearly 6 million as a loan fee. That paid for his transfer pretty much a couple of seasons back. Lucas Leiva, 5 million. Kevin Stewart, who hardly played a game. Andre Wisbom, who hardly played a game, 2 and 4 million. That's 6 million between you. That's a crazy amount of numbers. But when you look at the loan fee for even Daniel Sturridge during the January transfer window, it's crazy. But look at the incomings. It's unbelievable. Couple of players. Obviously Van Dijk, the standout. Oxlade-Chamberlain, yes, very, very, known player around the Premier League. But Mo Salah, who would have thought what would have happened with Mo would have happened in reality? And then Andrew Robertson. In reality, Andrew Robertson cost $4 million when you put into consideration Kevin Stewart came in before him, or went out before him. But let's look at the current previous season. This is where you started to notice that, wow, Dominic Solanke didn't really get in the match squad that often, was always a bit part player, was on the subs bench, played about 19 games for Liverpool in over a whole season, give or take, about 12 of them was in the Premier League. 19 million, and we got him on a free transfer. Crazy business. Danny Ward played one game, I think, for Liverpool in competitions. 12 million to Leicester. Wow. Loris Karius obviously departed, 2 million fee. Clavan got money, and all the fees kind of accumulated from loans and all that good stuff. But when you think about it and you consider the amount of business that Liverpool had done in the previous January transfer window, like Coutinho, and getting those players out the door who were completely fringe players, were not useless, for about 25 million in total minimum, without even worrying about things more than that in reality. It's crazy when you consider the wages. So you look at that and you think that they pretty much paid for half of Fabinho, or pretty much a Fabinho, and then you got the likes of Coutinho, 130 million. It's crazy when you consider the numbers and what you're getting for players that are no longer required. It's monumental. And then you look at this season, what has happened already. Danny Ings has gone for 20 million. 20 million. Danny Ings was on loan last year to Southampton, and I just think it's absolutely crazy. And when you consider that Danny Ings would never play many games for Liverpool, was always on the bench, and you're getting 20 million for a player who, in my opinion, is not worth anywhere near that. We bought him for 5 million a couple of years ago. What an outstanding profit that is. And everyone says about Liverpool being a really good transfer team now, but back in the day it was nothing. We were the laughing stock. We were the absolute worst team ever. I've already showed you. Look at the state of some of these transfer windows. They were horrendous. But what happens when you get a good team and a good reliable kind of scouting network, that they're buying players that you genuinely need, and you're selling players that you don't need but for actual money? It's unbelievable, and there's not many teams I can think in the Premier League that do it. Man City have been buying big, but when they sell players, they don't sell them for big money. They just sell them. They don't get the big values out of it. So I want to just quickly look and have a look at other teams. So bear with me. Let's look at Man City just to compare. Right, so we're at Man City now. Same regions. Now, the big contrast is in the fees coming in to the ones going out. The likes of arrivals of John Stones and Sane, for example, very, very big. Gabriel Jesus, Gundogan, Bravo, etc. They're quite big fees, but look at the outgoings, pretty low. All loans, all trying to get them away, and they weren't really fetching much in terms of fees. 31 million going out, not a lot considering Edin Dzeko, 9.9 million. Is worth at least double that now, maybe even triple, considering the form that he showed at Roma over the last few years. Crazy when you think about it. But when you go even further, you got 82 million coming out of the club and 285 going into the club. Now they had to sell a lot. Obviously there's been a turnover, but obviously Iheanacho went for 25 million, quite good. And when you look at that, nothing really stands out. Obviously Aaron Mooney, who was on loan, 8 million. But in reality, the big transfer fees, kind of what they received, kind of got drowned out by the amount they were spending. Whereas with Liverpool, they had very big outgoing fees and less transfer activity, but quite a stable kind of ingoing as well, buying the players that they genuinely needed, and in reality not playing over the odds and having a bit of wiggle room, knowing that they've got a good player, they can spend that much because they've just received, say, 20 million for a bit part player, or they've just received 130 million for Coutinho. With Man City, there's no big massive fees. There's just like, little tiddly bits. But I think a lot of these are quite undervalued, if I'm going to be totally honest with you. For the likes of Jesus Navas back on a free transfer, you've even got the likes of Gael Clichy. They weren't released. They could have easily got money for them if they made contract talks better and got some money out of them. And, you know, it doesn't really make much sense. But then you look at this, for example, again, 48 million. Look at the amount of players going out, 48 million. Quite a lot of players going out and only receiving, you know, a little bit of money. For example, Joe Hart worth 3.5 million. It's like, wow, come on. It's one of those things. But again, Man City are constantly spending money. They're going to always spend money. But ultimately, the main thing you got to worry about with Man City is how much can they spend and how much can they keep spending without the financial fair play being involved. When you look at the likes of Liverpool as an example, totally different. So, for me, a lot of business done by both teams, and more often than not, you're seeing quite a lot of money on the outgoings, quite drowned out by the ingoings with Man City, for example. I mean, it's just one of those things. So there you go. That's my opinions on outgoings for Man City and Liverpool, at least. I think Liverpool have done fantastic business getting real bit part players for stupid fees. I think the likes of Dominic Solanke, 20 million, Danny Ings, 20 million, is pretty interesting, but ultimately they're not overspending on players that they don't need. They're not buying bit part players. Back when, like, obviously Rodgers and, you know, Kenny Dalglish was involved, it was really kind of like, let's just buy him because why not? Totally different now. So there you go. Subscribe, hit that bell button, and obviously hit a like button if you want to see more content. It'd be good to kind of provide that for you. But yeah, we'll be drip feeding a few little bits of content here and there and everywhere.